The briefing room of the Interstellar Embassy was unusually silent. Military officers, diplomats, and a handful of scientists all sat stiffly in their seats, staring at the holographic display that hovered above the polished table. On the screen was an image of her, tall, lithe, with skin that shimmered like burnished copper under the embassy lights, eyes like molten amber that could pierce through the most guarded soul. "She's different," muttered one of the junior officers, the unease in his voice barely concealed. Different didn't begin to describe her. The alien woman, known across 3-star systems as Sci-Fi, had a reputation. Not for her power, though she was a warrior unmatched in skill. Not for her intellect, though she had outmaneuvered entire councils with ease. It was her aura. Her presence intimidated almost everyone who approached her. Most of the galactic elite had rejected her, labeling her untamable or dangerous. Yet here I was, a human emissary sent into a room where every eye was on her, and the whispered question was clear. "Why me?" The council spoke. "We have an offer," intoned the lead diplomat, her voice formal but tight with caution. "Sci-Fi has been assigned to you. She is unclaimed, unwanted by her peers. You may accept or decline." A murmur ran through the room. Head shook. Everyone seemed to see this as some cruel punishment. Me, the human, being offered the one alien everyone feared. I looked at Sci-Fi. Her gaze was fixed on me, measuring, sharp. There was no fear, only a challenge. A spark of something I couldn't quite name. And yet, in that instant, the decision was simple. "I accept," I said firmly. A collective gasp filled the room. Some officers looked ready to protest. Others simply stared in disbelief. You do realize what you're saying?" asked one voice, trembling. "No one who has ever been near her." "I understand," I interrupted. "And I accept anyway." Sci-Fi's lips curved just slightly, a hint of a smile. For the first time, the tension in the room shifted. Not relief. Not celebration. Something quieter. A mutual acknowledgement of respect. Beginning, first encounters. Our initial meetings were formal. I was briefed on her strengths, her past assignments, and her tendencies. She had been part of elite task forces, diplomatic strikes, and planetary security operations. She could neutralize a threat without leaving a trace. And yet, there was no guidebook on how to interact with someone like her. When we finally met face to face in her quarters aboard the ship, the air was electric. She stood there, arms crossed, posture rigid. Her amber eyes met mine and held me in a way that made it clear. She was testing me. "You're the human?" she asked, voice low and even. "I am," I replied. "And you are Sci-Fi." "I know the rumors." Her eyes narrowed. "Do you fear them?" I shook my head. "Fear doesn't help anyone in my line of work. I prefer to understand." She studied me silently, tilting her head as if calculating my worth. Finally, she stepped forward, close enough that I could feel her presence without being threatened. "Most would flee," she murmured, "or stumble over their words." I smiled faintly. "I don't run from the truth." For a long moment there was silence. Then, almost imperceptibly, she relaxed her shoulders. Not completely, but enough to signal that she would tolerate me. It was progress. Our first few days together were a mixture of tension and observation. Sci-Fi would test my reactions, challenge my decisions, and quietly assess my character. In return, I studied her, how she moved, how her gaze shifted when thinking, the subtle nuances in her voice that betrayed emotion she tried to hide. It wasn't easy. She was sharp, quick to detect weakness, and unyielding in her opinions. But I didn't flinch. I didn't hedge. And slowly, I began to see what everyone else had missed. Her fearlessness masked a deep longing for understanding, for someone who would see her not as a weapon or a danger, but as herself. Trust builds. Weeks passed and trust began to take root. It was fragile at first, a single thread linking two vastly different beings. I learned to anticipate her instincts, to respect her boundaries, and to engage her mind. In return, she shared moments of vulnerability, a fleeting glance at a family memory, a story about a mission that went wrong, a rare, quiet laugh at something small and human. One night, while navigating through an asteroid field on a training mission, A rogue ship ambushed us. Alarms blared, lights flashed red. Zyphira's reaction was instantaneous. Her hands moved like lightning, disabling the enemy ship's weapons, her tactical mind guiding us through a perilous path. And yet, amid the chaos, she glanced at me, her eyes brief and fleeting, checking that I was still with her. After the skirmish, we floated in the quiet of open space, breathing heavily. She turned to me, her voice softer than I had ever heard. You didn't panic. I trust you, I said simply. Her amber eyes softened and she looked away almost shyly. I've been alone in this galaxy too long, she admitted. No one has ever seen me, not really. I see you, I whispered. All of you. It was the first time she didn't hide behind her reputation, her fearsome persona. In that moment, the warrior was gone and all that remained was Zyphira. From that point on, our connection deepened. Missions became easier, not because we were stronger, but because we understood one another. Strategy was replaced by synchronicity, observation by intuition. And slowly, admiration became something more, something neither of us had expected. Ending, acceptance and affection. Months later, on a diplomatic mission to a neutral planet, the tension of politics and past hostilities had left us both exhausted. The sun of the alien world was setting, casting long orange and purple shadows across the desert-like terrain. Zyphira and I were alone on a balcony, surveying the horizon. You never doubted me, she said quietly, the words almost a confession. I never will, I replied. She turned to me, eyes glimmering with emotion I could no longer ignore. Most would have walked away, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I thought I'd be alone forever. You won't be, I said, stepping closer, the warmth of my presence bridging the space between us. Her hands trembled slightly as they reached for mine. The warrior's strength was there, still powerful, still unyielding, but now it was tempered with something entirely new. Trust, acceptance, and a willingness to let someone in. I want to be with you, she admitted, her lips curving into the faintest smile. Even if the galaxy disapproves. I smiled back, firm and unwavering. Then we face it together. All of it. Every star, every mission, every challenge. And in that moment, the human who had accepted the alien no one wanted found something extraordinary. A partner who challenged him, understood him, and, against every expectation, belonged to him entirely. We stood together on that balcony, the galaxy stretching endlessly before us, a symbol of both our differences and our unity. The one alien everyone rejected had found acceptance, and in turn, I had found something far greater than any mission or medal: love, trust, and a connection that would endure across the stars. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting the world in twilight. Zyphira leaned against me, and for the first time, neither of us feared the unknown. Together we would face whatever the galaxy had in store.